Welcome, friends, to Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter. We bring you the greatest female voices in the music industry, from the artists, songwriters, and producers, to managers and executives, and all the women who make the music industry what it is today. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Crazy Women Country. I am Donna, and today I am here with the talented Sarah McCulloch. Did I say that correct?
Yeah, that's fine. McCulloch.
Okay. McCulloch. Okay. See, I'm going to have to pronounce that a couple more times so I say it correctly.
Okay.
Then I can announce it everywhere. You'd be your official announcer for everything.
It's okay. McCulloch is the traditional Scottish pronunciation. It's Scottish, not Irish. A lot of people think it's an Irish name. It's actually Scottish, but the American, typical pronunciation is McCulloch, but it's either way is fine. It's fine.
Wonderful. And my good friend who was Scottish would have kicked me in the butt and said, "You need to pronounce it right."
It's okay. It's okay. I can't wait to go there some way and someday to Scotland and decry on my ancestors' graves the name that they gave me that no one can pronounce. That's okay.
Even though my last name is simple, you'll be surprised at the different enunciations you get. I mean, it's spelled just like the piano, right? Obviously, it's Italian, so it has that little, but it's just funny when people try to pronounce it. And I'm like, just say piano. It makes it so simple. Yeah.
I don't know how anybody can.
It's trust me, I've heard it all different ways. Crazy stuff happens in life, right?
It does. It does. It does.
So we love to start off. Well, let me start off with this. FYI, everyone, we're both in Florida at the same time. Just, this is a rarity that I get to interview someone. There's only been one other interview that I've had in Florida. And yeah, it's exciting.
I would love to know. You don't have to tell me now, but maybe just tell me who it was, another person that you interviewed. I would love to know. I love to network with other people in the state. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And she's a Floridian too, born and raised. So yeah.
I'm on the East Coast. You're on the West Coast. I'm in Broward County. I live in a little suburb of Broward called Davie, which is the big rodeo grounds in the area is right around the corner from me. So I picked the country girl place when I moved down. I was born and raised in Florida. I spent most of my life here, and I moved to Buffalo, New York in 2008 and lived there until 2020. So I've been back in Florida for 3 years. So I moved around a little bit, but I'm back. I'm back in the South.
There's nothing wrong with exploring.
Nope.
I think we should all live somewhere else in our lives, and
Buffalo, New York is a really nice area. Really nice. I made some of the best friends of my life there. Really good people, really good food, a really good music scene, amazing music scene. Amazing live music scene. And I miss that a bit. We have a community here in Florida, but it's just that the venues are a little bit more transitory, a little bit hard to keep open. People are a little bit more interested in, disco or electronic music or just Jimmy Buffett, the tourists. So, yeah. There's not a lot of listening rooms for songwriter stuff. I found a few, but Buffalo it has an amazing live music scene. So I miss that, but I'm happy to be home. So.
And that's so true. In Florida, that's one thing. We have very touristy. So even the artists that do come down, those from, either local or ones that come down from, Tennessee and stuff that are used to those writer areas and things like that, have kind of gravitated toward, okay, well, let me just do some traditional, sing along type stuff because that's what the crowd wants to hear. They don't always appreciate, those songwriting and the originals and things like that of the indie artists.
When I was living in New York and I would come down to visit my mom with my son and, see my mom, because she's always lived here. I would want to hear Jimmy Buffett. I would get off the plane and want to hear Margaritaville. I was like a tourist in my own state. And so I can understand there's nothing wrong with that. We went down to actually South Beach and Wouldn't recommend that during spring break because it's really crazy down there right now, too much crime. But we were there a couple months ago, and they have an amazing, Latin music scene. I mean, really, really amazing Cuban influenced, Latin fusion type stuff. That's amazing. So there's a lot of diversity, but the kind of stuff that I'm interested in, the, country Americana singer songwriter stuff, we don't have too many places. So, but we're, I will take the weather over, over, I'm happy.
Well, yeah, because I Buffalo got like over Christmas time. I had a good friend that lives up there, and they were snowed in basically for a couple, like it felt like months, it may have been weeks, but same difference. It was just crazy.
People miss Christmas. People miss Christmas. I mean, they were just in their homes, couldn't get to their families, couldn't. Yeah, that was horrible. Buffalo's had a rough year, and they had that shooting, and then
Yes.
that, and then that. God, even that football player that like collapsed that almost died at the game. They've been in the news a lot. Great place. Talk to people there. Talk to friends there almost every day. But Florida's always going to be home. I have a little thing on my by my TV. It says "Home is wherever mom is," and I'm very close with my mom. She was here earlier. She's with me almost every day. So, I have a son with special needs, so she helps a lot with him. So I'm very close with my mom. It's our only grandchild, so we're very close. But home is wherever mom is, I say.
Absolutely. That is great. And that is true. It's like home is wherever family, mom, whatever. Yeah.
Next song will be that. Home is wherever mama is.
Yep.
I think I'm really honestly serious about that. I'm gonna have to write that down.
I see a new song coming out soon.
I don't know. I don't
Huh?
know. Why not? I have not been writing. I've been in performance mode. I was in a really serious songwriting mode from like September up until February. And then I had, more like January, because I started to do some festival performances and they were coming up, and I was like, Sarah, you can't just always be writing songs. You have to perform and get good at the ones that you have. So I'm one of those people. I am lucky when I get into the mode and I sit down with my guitar. It's pretty much like something almost always comes out, that,
Yeah.
seems promising. So I would be like, okay, no, I'm not gonna write. I'm just gonna practice. So then once I switch my mindset, I really have not been writing. So I need to get back. I just finished a big festival, not last weekend, not this past weekend, the weekend before, that was like a 4-day festival that was really intense and really wonderful, but also exhausting. So once I kind of got through that, I have 2 more months before I do another festival. So I have some time to, I think, write now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I have to say, as a lyricist, I try to write every day, even if it's something that's not so great. That's kind of like, oh yeah, no one's gonna ever see that, or at least I don't think that'll ever come up in a writer's round or anywhere we're gonna use it. So it still works, still keeps me active. But yeah, I love that inspiration and setting the mind to do things. It's one of those where you set your mind and you just follow suit, no matter what you're doing in life, right?
Yeah. Do you write write it down, put it in a laptop? Do you record it into your phone, or?
I usually type it into my laptop. I'll write it on paper. I'm traditional where like I will carry notebooks and write it down. If I don't have a notebook or I'm like driving or going somewhere or doing something, I will record it in my phone or type it up in my phone when I stop. Yeah, when I'm stopped. Probably not at a red light. Usually at a store or something, because I like to drive and be on my phone. I'm not that type of person. I usually am yelling at people that do that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I do a lot of audio on my phone because I do a lot of driving, and I will get inspiration a lot of times in my car because it's my only time really alone. I have a son with autism, so my home life is, I take care of him, and he requires a lot of help, and so that's pretty intense. So when I get into my car, and I have a long drive to work one day a week. And I do a lot of, because it's my time just like alone, and I get into this
Hmm.
mode. I went through a period of, a couple months there where like every week I had something good, from that drive. So I just find it interesting to talk to people about their processes, because everybody's different. And then if I feel like it's something good, I'll transfer it back, and I'll work on it back and forth with my guitar on my iPhone, back and forth, and then I'll put it on my, in my laptop. I don't usually write anything down. I just keep on backing up my laptop to make sure I have all the lyrics. But I want to be one of those really cool people that like write stuff on napkins, like Willie Nelson, or like, like cool, like write something on a receipt or something. But I've never had that happen to me.
But think about it. If Willie Nelson had a smartphone back in the day, would he have wrote it on the napkin or would he have wrote it on his phone? Like,
That's true. That's
so he
true.
may have, yeah.
Yeah, I think gone are the days of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where they frame people's lyrics, but it made me feel better because I really love Leon Russell, and I read that even him, and he was an old timer, and everything, but what a great songwriter, and he actually put everything on a laptop, so that made me feel like I was cool. So
Well,
I've worked hard in my creative process, and it's funny because I think when you talk to people about songwriting, that's kind of like the therapeutic question that you would get, like, what's your process? And you could have asked me that a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't have really been able to really like report my process. And a lot of it is just stuff that comes to me that I can't tell you how to get, but once I get it, I can tell you what I do with it. And I do have something, you know, and I started to develop that process really around the time COVID happened, because I was stuck at home like everybody else, and I was going through a divorce, and I had a lot to write about. And then I just developed this process, and it had to do with my iPhone and my laptop and my guitar. And I'm I'm most proud of that, even though that it's like, what song do you, I mean, I think I'm just proud of the whole thing, that I have a process that works for me, because it's not, it is a little bit of voodoo, but it's actually a concrete process to me anyway.
it is. I mean, there are people that say they only work when they get inspiration. And to me, that's like amazing. I'm always the type that I think you have to work at something, regardless of how you do it, which in your case, you go back and forth and things like that. But they're like, I will only write when I get this idea that comes to me out of the blue or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying it's not. I'm just not like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that happens. I write down the idea and then I take the time to, okay, let's elaborate. Let's bring it to a co-writer's session. Let's, and where do we go from it with here? So
I think, like John Prine, he's like, don't forget to write. And he wrote every day.
yeah.
And, you know, as far as that's for songs, but I know like the real like journalist writer, Stephen King and those kinds of people, I mean, they get up and they write every single day for a large part of the day. Very professional. And I can't believe that all of that writing is used, but it's they you have to have something in order to take the best parts. So I I've really had to work on I really I'm older, I'm not starting out as a young, Dolly Parton ready to come out and, sing my stuff on, the Grand Ole Opry. I didn't have that life path. I was a bit of a shy child and a bit of an introvert. Um, and then I have a son with a disability, and we've been home a lot, somewhat isolated. COVID is kind of like what our life was normally. Like that's
Mhm.
what our life was. We have, family and things that we did, social interactions, but for many years I had a very hard job, a professional job working in education that was very exhausting. So I just come home from the weekends and, just be home with him, because his disability is pretty intense and requires a lot of management. And sometimes I would just be like, oh, we're staying home this weekend. We're going to the grocery store and that's it. So I'm not one of those people that was out there, singing in front of even my family. I sang with my dad. I sang alongside him with the guitar, and with my sister, he would play gospel songs and we would sing along, and, songs that he wrote and so forth. But I wasn't one of those people that was standing up in church and wanted to be the center of attention at all, at all. So for me, it's kind of a funny thing. I really enjoy the songwriting process of it. It means the world to me, to someone to point at me and pick me out, and not to say she sang that song, but to say she wrote that song.
Yeah.
That is cool. That is so cool. That just like makes me feel like I'm king of the hill. I don't need to be center of attention, but I'm at the point though where no one else is singing my songs. I'm not, living in Nashville, turning them out. And, I don't know the Nashville thing. People say to me still, right, move to Nashville. But again, my situation with my son, I really require some family support right now. So I'm in South Florida near my family, but I don't have anybody else to sing these songs. So I'm out there singing them, but I really had to work on the performance part because I'm not a natural performer. I really have to work on it. Like I can be sitting at home and be very relaxed and know what chords to play and how to sing a song. I get in front of people and I feel like I've never picked up a guitar before. Like I'm like, what am I doing? What's happening here? I'm like a deer in headlights. So the songwriting is that's my love. The rest of it, I'm lucky that I have a voice that I can sing, that people seem to like and all of that. But I really would just, really like I would like for people to record my songs and, so that I could, just be home with my son and provide a nice life for him, so my dream is to do that, professionally. The singing is fun, but recording an album, well, writing the song, recording the album, singing the song on the album and all of that process is challenging, but I have a great producer that we work really well together. So that whole process has been fun, and we're getting ready to do more together, and it's fun. But that is completely different than getting up on stage and performing those songs. I mean, it is not even the same day. It is so different, and so many factors impact that sound, and no one in the audience understands what all goes into it, and it's challenging. It's very challenging to just get up and, make it sound like the record. I'm learning that. But I have a guitar player here in Florida that I've known for a long time that we do a duo together, and he's a great guitar player and a great writer himself, sings harmony with me and helps me with my stuff, is very supportive. And I need that help, especially for the guitar playing, because I know enough to write the song, but I've just decided a while ago. I've been around really, really wonderful professional musicians my whole life. My ex-husband is a really, really excellent musician. And so I always kind of felt like, I'm not good, or I can't, I'm not good like them. But then I realized what went into songwriting was pretty simple if you have the chords. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. And then, developed into my own kind of style. But I'm satisfied in saying that I'm never going to be one of those great guitar players. Like no, it's just not my gift, but there's a lot of, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, as long as you can convey what you're trying to do in that song and say, look, this is what I'm hearing, this is what I want, here's the basics, create a great riff or whatever you want and go. And, there's, as you're saying, those amazing musicians can do that. That's not who you are as the musician, the songwriter, and sometimes just having that person that is the better expert, if you will, on it, or has better knowledge and style. And, that might be hey, why don't you help me out and make this better? Because not saying you're not good. That's not it at all. It's just, there are some people that are just like reincarnated musicians or something, like they didn't even have to try to learn to play guitar and they can, So,
and they just know everything, whether it's out of tune or in tune, tuned by ear. And, I'm like panicking if I don't have my battery and my little snark tuner, like, cause I can't tune by ear. I can't, so these are all things that you kind of have to get past though. If you feel like you really want to do it and you feel like you have something good to say, you got to get kind of past that. I mean, when I go and I look at Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn and some of these people, when you go back and you look at their songs, they're really very simple, chords and simple structures and everything. So, they call it three chords in the truth. For me, it's really, I would say about four chords in the truth. I think, I think someone is going to put on my tombstone, makes good use of the E minor chord, because like E minor gives me a little layer of drama, and it's like, okay, E minor all the time, G, C, D, and E minor and A minor. But I really only know a handful of chords. And my friend Rayford, Rayford Stark is the name of the guitar player that helps me and my friend, and he's very encouraging, and he's just, well, maybe you're fine, you just don't let anyone change you, because maybe you could learn a bar chord here or there or two. And I'm like, they hurt my fingers. I'm like that, and he's like, oh my god. And I'm like, I know, but they hurt my fingers. I try, but I don't ever hear what I am hearing in my head in the song, unless it's just a really simple chord, and I know how to use a capo and to change the key, and we get it done. My producer is Jim Bickerstaff, and he's a wonderful producer and wonderful friend, and he's a great songwriter himself. He was in Muscle Shoals, working in Muscle Shoals for a guy named Johnny Sandlin at Duct Tape Studios in Muscle Shoals for many years. So he lives in North Carolina now. So he took me to Muscle Shoals, and we recorded Saul Miller's Daughter there, most of it. Some of the vocals we did in his studio in North Carolina, but that was unbelievable. Those guys, I was terrified. And I had recorded an album with my ex-husband. He had produced my first album. And that was kind of scary, but yet, he was my husband at the time, and these were all his musicians in his band and people that I knew. And it was a little bit more relaxed. The studio was around the corner from our house, and, but going to Muscle Shoals, I was terrified. I mean, the guys that were playing were really, really, well-known, people, and they couldn't have been nicer. And they don't even listen to the words, really. They get the charts and they just lay down what the chart is. And I thought but I didn't even understand what was really happening. I'd recorded before, but the vocal process was a little bit different. And I just realized that they were just listening to my vocals just to make sure they were in the right place, but they weren't really listening. So I'm thinking I have to go in there and sing like Aretha Franklin or something. And, and Jim was like, no, just sing. You could even talk it out just so that they know where they're supposed to be. But they just read charts, and they're just really amazing. So, and that made me feel like my little song stood up, I was like, my little songs, they did okay. These, the guys were, they approved, and but they're so professional. A lot of them would be like, this is a really nice song, but some of them, it could be the best song in the whole world, and they might not say that because they just come in to do the job. They're just so good at what they do. They just come in and get it done, Yeah. But so that was really scary. But I'm really proud of that record. We put out a lot of publicity with it, and grew in Spotify, and grew in Instagram, and grew in YouTube videos. My big kind of barrier is that I can't travel too much because of my son. I'm a single mom, and he came with me last week into a festival and it was really interesting. My mom was going to keep him, but she couldn't at the last minute. So I took him, and it was pretty stressful trying to perform and take care of him. And I had help, but it was very challenging. So it's a little hard for me because I can't really travel. I can't tour, but I try to do the local stuff in Florida, and Florida is really, unique. I haven't lived in, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Ohio, and I've lived here. And I would say that Florida, from what I hear and from what I know a little bit about New York, it's their folk scene is a lot bigger here, and it's very great because they're very welcoming of people like me who are native Floridians who have a song and they want to hear from Florida artists about Florida. And because I grew up in the woods, I've done well in that circuit so far. I got one of my songs was nominated and got third place in a songwriting contest in Will McLean Festival. That's where I was last weekend. So, it's up my alley. I'm lucky that I'm here. New York is great with music, but their festivals are a little bit different. They're more rootsy, bluesy. A lot of songs about trains. They love songs about trains. So, Florida's been good to me, as far as the genre of music, but you have to, but I can't travel too much. That's my big thing. So, but, it'll happen organically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, the one thing in this day and age, especially with COVID, is all those songwriters that were like, oh, we can't write remotely. We can never write remotely before COVID, learn to write remotely. And a lot of them still do. And it's a great, collaboration now. You can collaborate a lot more. Because not everyone's based in Nashville anymore. They're like, oh, well, I'm over in Arizona today. I'm in wherever I am. And that's how they're co-writing now. Instead of just
so you're talking
waiting.
about co-writing, like writing directly with like
Yep.
remotely with someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
need to
there's a lot
get
of that going on now. So yeah. Just gotta find you the right co-writer groups and things like that, and we'll get you set
I,
up.
yeah, I am not against co-writing. I'm not. I haven't been put in a situation yet where actually when we went to Muscle Shoals, we were all kind of staying in a cabin together, my producer and the drummer, and Jim was like, let's try to write a song this week. Well, we couldn't because we were just like maniacs trying to, do my album. So we didn't. But that was like I was kind of like, but I have such a weird songwriting process. I don't know how I could, but I would be willing to try it,
It never
I would
hurts.
try it. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. And some of my favorite songs are co-written. And I know I think in order to really, really write every day, that would be important because the other person could, if you're not feeling it, then the other person could give you, you play off each other. It's like,
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
yeah. There's lots of that. There's that group in Nashville that they call themselves the Love Junkies, Lori McKenna and,
Yes.
oh God, I'm blanking on the other.
Liz Rose
Yeah.
and Hillary Lindsay.
Hillary Lindsay. And I
Yep.
absolutely love them all. I really love Hillary Lindsay too. And, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
incredible. And, Lori McKenna is a little bit like me too. I think she was pretty much just like writing on her own. And, but it's about the growing the connections too, so yeah, I'm not against that, but so far I don't have anyone knocking on my door.
Well, don't worry, we can hook you up there. Don't worry about that. We got you covered. So speaking of music, obviously you told me a little bit about how you kind of got into music, but tell me, who are some of the women that inspire you musically?
Wow. Yeah, my parents were not country music fans, so I kind of had to go through and discover it, myself. And when I went to public school in the 90s country was very big. And 90s was still really, really, George Jones was still alive. There was a lot of cool, but actually the songwriter that influenced most was Kim Ritchie. I don't know if you're familiar with Kim Ritchie.
Yes.
Singer-songwriter. She had an album called Bittersweet that was out around the time that I went off to college. She influenced me a lot. She was just really just all around the triple threat. She could sing, she could play, she could write. She influenced me a lot. Of course, Dolly Parton and Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt. My mom, when I was a kid, she loved Carole King, Tapestry, and Linda Ronstadt, Heart Like a Wheel. And now I know Linda Ronstadt's not a writer. Those were all cover songs. But she could choose the cover songs and sing the heck out of them. And so I grew up listening. I think Heart Like a Wheel is my favorite all-time album. And I know every song on there in the order that they come in. I mean, and we listened over and over and over. So I can't say she influenced me as a songwriter, but that country rock kind of edgy,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, just so cool. So I would say probably Linda Ronstadt, you know, and I mean the trio too, just Emmylou Harrison, Dolly
Mhm.
Parton. I love Dolly Parton, and I love Loretta Lynn. Like actually, the Sawmiller's Daughter thing. Um, I loved Coal Miner's Daughter. I watched that over and over again, and I memorized the the line, where she's up on stage and she's like, I was just a little girl, and then I was having babies, and then I was out here singing for y'all. And Patsy's always saying, "Let the girl, you got to have your own life, and this life's in me." I love that whole movie. Like I love the whole movie, and then she passes out, and Duke comes to get her on stage and carries her out. I love Coal Miner's Daughter, and that relationship that she had with her father, that I think Levon Helm played the role of her father in Coal Miner's Daughter, and I love Levon Helm too. But that relationship she had with her father, I had that kind of relationship with my dad. And so I love that song. And so I remember when Margot Price came out with that Midwest Farmer's Daughter too. That was like, I was like, what is this about all these daughters? It's always saying, I was like, I'm a daughter of somebody cool too. And I started to think, why don't I tell my father's story? And so um, I told my father's story with Son Miller's Daughter, and I think that Loretta Lynn influenced that quite a bit. But I would say songwriting was kind of like Kim Ritchie, singing was like Linda Ronstadt. Well, the songwriting, Dolly Parton too, Loretta Lynn, but not to say, but I would have to say that the singing, I would say would be Tanya Tucker. Like I actually, my father wasn't a huge country music fan, but he really liked Tanya Tucker. And we had a Tanya Tucker album. And there was a song on there called I Wish I Would Have Known the Man a Little Better that turned my mama on. And it was just a really cool vintage, like deep in the catalog Tanya Tucker song. And I remember in her what's the term when you can hear every single word? It's your diction. Is it what's it called? It's your diction when you have a very clear way of people can hear you,
Mhm. Yes, I
I
know
think
what you mean.
yeah, and Tanya Tucker is a master at that. I mean, you can hear every word. And she syncopates and and some of those words are so fast, but she was a master at that you could hear every word. And that's what my mother tells me that all the time now, especially because she's getting older and it's hard for her to hear. And she says, make sure people can hear your words. You're good at that because people like me, they want to hear your words, but they can't. It's so frustrating. But Tanya Tucker's singing really influenced me. And I remember my father had that tape and I would play these songs, Delta Dawn and, Blood, the Georgia sun is blood red and going down and what's your mama's name and all of this, but that I wish I'd known the man a little better that turned my mama on. I really think that influenced Sawmiller's Daughter, the writing and how I syncopate lyrics. Cause I had something really crazy happen to me. Was being interviewed by a DJ in New York City. It was called Gumbo Ya Ya Radio Show. And the DJ's name is Redneck. And I thought they were actually down in Louisiana because it's gumbo and all of this. And he says, no,
Mhm.
ma'am, we're in New York City proper, but we're all country music. So they were interviewing me and they really loved the album. And he was listening to Sawmiller's Daughter and he came back to interview me some more. And he freaked me out so bad. He said, ma'am, I don't know if you've ever heard a Tanya Tucker song. I wish I would have known the man. And then we started singing it together and no one knows those lyrics. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I've heard that song. Yeah. And he goes, that's what this song reminds me of. And it gave me chills. It really gave me chills. So I would say those are the ones that influenced me the most. I mean, there's a bunch, but Patty Griffin, of course, and Patty Loveless. I loved her. I mean, Leanne Womack is just, I've seen her in concert and she is just all the way around 100. I mean, you cannot go wrong with her. She sounds like the record. She's unbelievable. And her last couple albums, I just chewed up on the CD, like The Way I'm Living. I love that album. And the last one too, The Lonely, The Lonesome, and The Gone. So, those have been my main influences, but there's been a million. I love women songwriters, and I love and Brandy Carlisle, all of that good stuff. But I'm older. I'm, going back. Brandy Carlisle, by the way, she just did a whole documentary on Tanya Tucker. And it was really great because she's recognizing how that her singing really influenced the younger growing up. And when I was watching Brandy Carlisle talk about Tanya Tucker's singing, and I was like, yes, that's so true,
Yeah.
You could hear every word, and she did it in a way that was so twangy and cool and sassy, but and no one, I mean, that voice, no one sing. No, you hear her and you just know immediately who it is,
Absolutely.
So I'm jealous.
Oh.
We all
So
are.
would you like to do our 13 crazy questions?
Sure. 13. That sounds like it might be unlucky crazy questions, but I'll take it.
No, definitely not unlucky. Come on. I think that's Taylor Swift's lucky number. So it's lucky, right? So tell me, do you have any guilty pleasure music? The stuff that no one knows you actually listen to?
I love some bro country. I'll be honest. I like some bro country. I mean, I do. I mean, everyone complains it's the same syncopated, series of chords and progressions. And I'm sorry, but they got it dialed in because I want to listen to it.
Yeah,
Jason,
there's sing along songs. So yeah.
Owen, they're all, I like Zach, I won't call Zach Brown bro country, but I like the I like some pop country. I do. I mean, I hate to say this, and I don't want to say anything negative, but I actually like the bro country pop more than the female pop. I don't know why that is, but I can't say that at this point, like, I don't know. I like the bro country pop better. That's my guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. Perfect. That's perfect. I think we all have some of those too. So
Don't
finish this finish the statement. Today, my favorite song is, it could change tomorrow, we know that, but today it is.
Oh wow. Today I would say I I was on the road this past weekend on Saturday quite a bit, and I was in my car and I was listening to Tyler Childers' White House Road. Like,
nice.
A lot. That's a bad song. It has just bad. It's so bad. Like, the lyrics are so good, but they're so bad. Drugs and weapons and serious bodily injury, and I'm like, what am I doing listening to this? It's so good, so good.
He's such a truth writer, though. Like, he just writes it.
It's so bad, but it's so raw. It's so raw. I mean, get me higher than the grocery bill. I mean, but he's writing about, rural America and poverty and people trying to pay their bills and people trying to numb themselves from the pain of their lives. And I mean, yeah, he's talking about drugs, but I mean, I think that's kind of what the appeal is, like, even like with Johnny Cash and, but I will tell you this, the only thing I get frustrated with is that he can get away with it, but a female, one thing to talk about drinking, but, oh my God, you're not allowed to, so, but anyway, I like that song White House Road a lot. I like Feathered Indians. I like Tyler Childers a lot.
I'll have to send you some good female that include drugs and things like that. Write myself a note.
Or outlaws.
Yeah, some outlaw songs. Let's call them that. There we go. Outlaw songs.
Yeah.
There we go. I have some good ones that you might appreciate.
Yeah.
So tell me the best concert you've attended.
Oh, wow. The best concert. I would say Leanne Womack. I mean, she sounded like the record. I mean, I kept on looking at the person I was with going, is she singing right now or lip syncing? Like, she's unbelievable. And I mean, it just gave you just chills, in that song, I Hope You Dance. I mean, she just, I wish that I were a singer like that and that I could sing some of my songs and do some justice to them the way that she does. But I would say she gave the best. Just her sound was unbelievable. I mean, it just was not a bad note in her. band, of course, was phenomenal. The top notch, players. It was when I think it was when The Lonely and the Lonesome and the Gone had just come out. I think it was about 5, 6 years ago. Um, I saw Willie Nelson at the Outlaw Festival in 2019, and Sturgill Simpson and Margot Price. And I was like, I went and saw him at the Hollywood Bowl. I was like, I'm going to see Willie Nelson. And he might not be here, and here we are 4 years later and he's still around. But he was great too. But I mean, he can come out and sit in a chair and it's the best concert you've ever been to. So, but I would say it'd have to be Lee and Womack.
Beautiful. Any of those concerts, awesome for sure. Yeah.
Hollywood Bowl was fun.
So can you give our audience maybe an artist or an album they need to listen to before they die?
Oh, well, Linda Ronstadt, Heart Like a Wheel. I mean, nobody does those songs like Linda Ronstadt, I mean,
what I loved about her is the fact that she could go from country more to rock to pop, and just even I think she did a Spanish album. Was that?
Oh yeah,
and it was awesome. It was so amazing because back then they were like, oh, she switched genres, and it was okay, like so.
It's crazy seeing her in her older years, not being able to sing. It's heartbreaking. But what a great person she is, and what a great sense of humor, she had. But I would say Linda Ronstadt, Heart Like a Wheel. I would say Patty Griffin, Living with Ghosts. Kim Ritchie, Bittersweet. Those are the ones that are, that are kind of popping. But people do that cover of Willin' that Lowell George wrote that, Linda Ronstadt put on Heart Like a Wheel, and people cover it all the time. And no one covers it like that version. And, and again, going back to Linda Ronstadt's singing, my mother just always talked to me about it. She'd say the vulnerability that she had, as women, you want to be like tough and, sound like, real, like soulful, but she just had that real vulnerable voice, and she sang in her most natural voice, in her most natural way. And I think as women, I mean everybody, but as women, we tend to, and I'm a big Mavis Staples fan. My father loved gospel music and listened to the Staples singers all the time. So I love Mavis Staples, and I would never in a million years sound like her. If I could pick anyone that I could sound like, it'd probably be Linda Ronstadt and Mavis Staples. I mean, I love Mavis Staples, but I can't sing like that. And I have to learn that that's okay. Like I have to learn how to sing in my natural voice. And still and be vulnerable with it, and it's a spiritual journey to sound like Linda Ronstadt. Let me tell you, it's just something so pure about it. So yeah, those are the albums that I would, and also Carole King, Tapestry. I mean, I think people pretty much know that. I mean, I think she's like the best-selling, female singer songwriter of all time. But I don't know. There's a lot. And when I look at someone like me that's been influenced by so many genres, I don't even know really where to begin. But I think I kind of go back to that kind of country rock, because I think I'm really kind of more traditional. Oh, the other one. Wait, hold up. One more, because I'm kind of staying here because there's one in my mind that I know needs to come out. Lucinda Williams.
Oh yeah.
Car Wheels on a Gravel Road. That I remember where exactly I was when that came out, and getting it in the store and bringing it home. And it's still, I saw her a couple months ago here in Fort Lauderdale. She's amazing because she had a stroke and she's back. She's not playing, but she's singing. She has an amazing band. And I mean, she's just an icon, and so she gets away with stuff with her writing that is just, she just gets away with it because she's just so raw and so honest. But Car Wheels on a Gravel Road is, I think, one of the best albums, of our time. So that one too. That would be my ultimate. I think actually that's more like within my more a little bit more more my feasible style than probably the other ones, She's great.
Absolutely. I can't argue at all there. This she's amazing. So tell me something on your bucket list.
Mm. Well, we all want to sing on the Grand Ole Opry, don't we? Yeah, that's my bucket list.
I'll just introduce people on the Grand Ole Opry. That's all I'll do. I'm not singing on there. Sorry.
I would be terrified, but I would do it. Oh, yeah, that's on my bucket list. And,
Okay.
I think to have a hit song, I think I
Mm.
don't know about a number one, but to have a hit song that either I sang or, somebody else sang, that's on my bucket list. The most important parts of life, I feel like I've accomplished. I've had a loving family. I have a beautiful child. I've had a good education and healthcare and love and a talent, a gift that, creative spirit that fulfills me. I'm not bored. I'm not, so I feel like I've lived a pretty full life, my bucket list would be, I think, to take, my gift and take it as far as I can go with it. And I kind of went through a, a big twist in my personal life with a divorce. And even though that was hard, it set me free. And I knew that I was supposed to be doing this. And I knew that I was supposed to be doing this when I was married. And I didn't know that I ever would. And so I felt like I've been given a second chance. And so my friends and my family, they can't believe how hard I've worked at it and against a lot of obstacles, with the divorce and with my son's disability. But I just knew, and I sacrificed a lot in my personal life too, because it just doesn't leave a lot of time for, dating and, guys and all of that. But because I just know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I just felt like that's I just know that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's on my bucket list to take it as far as I can take it.
So if we made a movie about your life tomorrow, who do you want to play you?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Wow. Hold on. I have to think. There was a movie I saw recently and I really liked the actress, but I don't know if I'd be able to, I mean, I like, I love Drew Barrymore. She's my age too. So maybe Drew Barrymore. She's exactly my age. I think she's like a month younger than me or something like that. And I think she's a really good, or Ashley Judd. I like her. She's funny. I don't know if she acts anymore too much, but I can't. The other actress that I really like, I like Toni Collette. I love her. I think she's so good and so raw and so So I don't know of those three, but if that's ever done.
Perfect. We'll sign them. We'll figure out if they need to play life sections or who's the leading role then.
I don't know. I would say they'd be in my top, but there's some amazing young people coming up in music and movies that you just can't keep track of their names and stuff. They're not, I think because of social media and the explosion in technology and communication, all of this talent is just kind of coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh God, that's not there. It's not like it's just Elvis and the Beatles anymore. It's like all of these people. And you're just kind of left sometimes going, who was that? What was that? What's happening? Oh, wow. Because there's been some actors and actresses that I've seen and I don't know what their names are, but that are amazing. Those are the ones that I'm thinking.
So, do you have a game plan for zombie apocalypse?
Yeah, I do actually. Oh. I would go because of my son's disability and kind of like what his needs are. I have to plan out my life pretty well because his needs are pretty like intense.
Yes.
So yeah, the people they might not know this, but the people that bought our property out in the Everglades, I would beg them to let me come and set up a camp out there and stay out in the woods. That would be my ideal thing. They would probably let me do that. And I'd figure out some way to, make it, be in the middle of middle of the Everglades, and I think we would survive depending on the rainy season, but that would be my plan. I have to kind of,
Yeah, now you said that. Do zombies like water? Like I've never, now that I've thought about this, are there any like Everglade zombie movies? Because we've already established they don't like snow.
That's
So
a good question. I would think that
yeah, you have to check that out now.
yeah, I would think that I know holy water kills them. I have no idea if swamp water kills them.
Then we got to just pour some holy water into the swamp water. It might all work, right?
But I don't know.
So,
All my friends out that live in the Everglades, they go out there and they're all like hunter gatherers type. So I am sure that we would be safe.
you're good. Yep.
I'm sure. I have no fear in that. But it is kind of a scary world sometimes. When I think about the things that are happening and how we're so dependent on the world for our food and we don't. We're so dependent, and in a matter of days, you can be in dire straits. So I try not to think about it too much, but I do. That would be my plan.
That's a good plan. So tell us something you would never do, like jump out of a perfectly good airplane and go skydiving, or I don't know.
Oh, well, all of the above. That, or I had a guy that I was dating that was a motorcycle guy, Harley Davidson, and he was really big into that. And told him right away that will never happen because of my son's disability, and I'm his, I'm his custodial guardian, parent. He does have and his father lives in New York, but I am responsible for him, and I can't put myself in danger like that, and and be gone. I could never do that to him. I could never do that to my mom. So I don't ride motorcycles. I don't do anything high risk at all. Like, I don't even really drink that much. I just, it just diminishes anything that diminishes my senses where I don't know, I don't take a lot of risks. Yeah. I was dating this guy and I said, that's just the way that it is. And you really need to think about that because I will never get on that. But, oh no, it's no big deal. So I know it's not a big deal to you, but I could never. My mother is a worrywart, and I could never do that to her. Yeah,
Totally understand.
yeah.
Okay, so hypothetically, if I called you and said, "Hey, Sarah, I need to hide a dead body," do you know a good place?
Yes, I do actually. I do. I do. And I actually wrote a song about that. Not where I'd hide it, but I wrote this song. It's called Golden Girl. And I was watching, that Netflix movie about Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn and their friendship.
Yes.
So I was inspired by that, and I started to just research famous female friendships because female friendships are amazing. I have very close friends that I became very bonded with. I went through a divorce with the one, and another one has a son with autism, so we go through all. I'm very close with my mom. I have an older sister. These female friendships are really something special. So I wrote this song, and the words are, Patsy and Loretta, Marilyn and Ella, the Thelma to my Louise, Carrie and Miranda, Charlotte and Samantha, Judy, Violet, and Dora Lee. And they're all famous. Like Judy, Violet, and Dora Lee were the 9 to 5 girls. And anyway, so it's all about, you're my golden girl, and it's written across the sky. Girl, I'm holding you up so high, my ride or die. But there's a line in the second verse goes, Jennifer and Hoda, Gail and Oprah, Rachel, Monica, and Phoebe. I dig that hole so deep and help you bury the body. No questions asked. That's just the way we ride. They'll never catch us dead or alive because you're my gold. And then this is big chorus, Golden Girl. So yeah, I would know. And my friends and I joke. I have a group of friends, and the other girl, I went through a bad divorce, and she went through an even worse divorce that was really scary. And we were like, one of us is eventually going to be burying a dead body in this lifetime after some of the stuff that we've seen. But yeah, I would know where to go.
Okay, so last
Autism mom,
no.
nothing scares me.
Yeah, exactly. So would you go to karaoke with me?
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I? You think I'm too good
Okay.
for are we too good for some of the people you interview too good for karaoke?
I'm not sure. That's I always joke about being pitchy and off key, and that's all just about fun. So,
Oh, I'm
no
pitchy and
one
off.
cares how good. Yeah.
I was just pitchy and off key singing that song. I think, you know, I love that little, I haven't been in a long time, but does that little ball still roll on the thing and tell
I
you?
think it highlights now. I think they just highlight it like
Okay.
yeah.
I remember when I was younger, it was the ball,
Hmm.
One of my
And then I
funny,
think in the 90s they changed the highlight. Late 90s it was highlights.
was it? Okay.
Yeah,
A
and then
time ago, I have not been in a while. I don't mind karaoke.
Ivan.
I remember going with my dad once in a bar. I was older and a teenager, and we went in a bar, and my dad wasn't a drinker, so I don't think he realized that there's all of these drunks in there. And I actually, one of the funniest things, this guy got up in front of us to sing karaoke, and he was drunk, and he was way drunk. He was kind of swaying back and forth, and he got the microphone, and the song that he picked was "Devil Went Down to Georgia," and he could not do it. And then the way that ball bounced, the devil went down to Georgia, and then he was like the devil, and he's just watching it like this, and my father started laughing like his butt off. And the guy got mad, and like we kind of it was like this tense thing because it was the funniest thing in the whole world, and I still think about that ball going across the thing about karaoke and my dad. So, but yeah, I'd go with you.
Yeah. Perfect. Maybe we'll set that up sometime. So if you could be any person for a day or a position, like Dolly Parton or a CEO or Linda Ronstadt or whatever, who or what position would you want to be for one day and why?
Honestly, I know it's going to be like so cliche because I'm sure every single girl that has been sitting here that you talk to probably says this, but I'm going to say Dolly Parton. I just think that she's doing the coolest stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, she's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's baking. She's writing books. She, still, is sexy. She's got the husband. I mean, I don't know who would not want her life. And she's funny and humble, and she
Yeah,
just makes everything seem like it's okay you know um the other one would probably, honestly, probably a toss up between her and Willie. I would be a guy too. I think Willie
yeah.
Nelson, those two are so unique in our pop culture because they're
Mhm.
so iconic. They're pretty neutral, like with their politics, and because
Mhm.
people just love them. I don't
Yeah,
want to say they kind of do, like whatever, but Willie just, you just get the feeling that he could almost do any, I mean, he's just such a cool,
mhm.
genuine, harmless creature,
Yes,
and does all this phenomenal, has given us such phenomenal gifts with his music. Yeah, those two I think are the most cherished, icons right now in country music. So, one of those you know.
absolutely. I can't agree more. That's usually what I'd
Well,
pick was Dolly
Willie
Parton.
lives in Hawaii. I would love Dollywood, but Willie lives in Hawaii, so I might, during the winter choose Willie.
Yeah, absolutely right. We're getting used to this Florida weather where it's nice. It was we had the cold snap, but that's not bad at all. So
Not bad.
yeah.
But again, I'm sorry. Have you been to Hawaii? I mean, Hawaii
I have not.
Hawaii is I've been to the Big Island. Not, I think you might live in Maui or one of the smaller islands, but I mean there is no comparison. Hawaii
Yeah,
is just the most beautiful place I've ever been. I mean, it's just beautiful. I would live there in a heartbeat. It's beautiful. I love my Florida, but oh, it's beautiful.
boy.
Not
Oh,
humid.
so tell me, do you have any words of wisdom that you live by? If so, what are they?
I would just say, just it's so hard not to compare yourself to other people with your body, your voice, your singing, your songwriting, um, because you don't know if what you have is something that people want and you don't know it. But what I've learned is that it's not up to you to judge. You have to put it out there and let other people judge it. And that's what's so painful, because you don't want to be rejected. But I think for some of us, it's harder than, others. But I think for the most part, if you are your own genuine self, you do have something to offer, and
Yeah.
you have to do that. And it's painful to write that bad song and know that it sucks. And that's that expression on someone's face that it's really not that good of a song. And you feel like you did your best and it's not good enough. But the truth is that if you really want to do it, it's not your best. You have to go back and dig a little bit deeper.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not saying that there's not some fantastic songs out there that don't get their due, or, what have you. I think sometimes things get kind of pushed, tossed aside because the people lose hope or belief in themselves and they just don't put themselves out there. But if you really put yourself out there and you really sharpen your instrument and you dig down deep, you do have something to offer. But you have to believe in yourself, and that is so hard. I mean, I think for women, I appreciate you doing these things and trying to, help and establish women, because it's very hard as a woman. It's very harsh out there, with how you look and your weight. And I think it's changing, but I think it's slow. And there's certain things that you just have to make peace with, that we're all kind of, superficial in certain ways about our body and our look. Like even Dolly Parton, like how cool is she? Like in a way she's so cool, but at the same time she's like, keeps herself, totally, she's like, but she makes it in some way okay, just to make peace with,
Mm-hmm.
we want to look good and that's okay. But I guess
Mm-hmm.
my point is that everybody has a different thing, and you just have to do your thing, and the hardest part is believing in yourself, and you will get that rejection. I mean, listen to me, I'm talking like I've made it. I haven't made it anywhere, but I mean,
But in
I know.
life, that's so true. I mean, what you're saying right now is true about life in any form, not just in music and anywhere. I mean, that's just how women are portrayed, and whether it's management, whether it's healthcare, whether it's, there's sometimes women are just portrayed in that sense. Maybe not as maybe looks as much in some of these other fields, but in every other sense, they could have the same credentials and same education stuff as a guy, and it's still hard for a woman because they're still judging. Oh, well, you might leave us to go have kids, or you might do this, and
Right. It's harder and it's slower. Like when you, as a mother, it's the natural thing, to, I
Mhm.
don't want to say natural because some people don't have kids and that's natural. What I'm trying to say is, there is a natural inclination to procreate and have kids. That's just the way that we're wired. And so
Right.
women are the ones that have the babies. Women are the ones that stay home. And so many women have to make the choice, like me. I mean, I, made my choice. I wanted my son, but then there's the disability and then there's things. And so it's slower for me. Now I'm a single mom. I'm working, I'm taking care of him. And, I've had to sacrifice other parts of my personal life. It's slower. And so it is harder. And women are just expected to do all of this stuff and look great and sexy, doing it. But I mean, I think though the hardest thing for me was when I knew that I wasn't writing a great song, but I felt like, oh no, this is, I'm gonna put it together and I'm gonna finish it and put it out there. And then but I will say that whenever I didn't have the reaction that I wanted, I can't lie to myself. I kind of knew, that it wasn't great. And you have to go back and check yourself and check yourself. And if you're not getting what, you've got to go back to the drawing board until I feel like I'm finally getting into, I've been writing a lot of songs about strong female women, go figure. Cause I'm kind of in that spot as, single mom now. And I have these collection of, half of the songs on my next album are just songs about strong women. And it's women truck drivers. I wrote a song about a women truck driver. They make up like a big percentage of the trucking industry now. And there's no songs about a female truck driver. And so I'm really proud of myself. I put together something that people really like a whole lot. And so I just, women are fantastic. We do everything. And I think in a way we're so powerful. People are, it's kind of intimidating, it's kind of intimidating. And you have to figure out how to do your thing and not piss people off, not make people insecure, and I've been super lucky. I had a wonderful father. And my ex-husband, he did produce my first album. He tried to be supportive. There were some problems there as I developed in the songwriting with him, but we were together a long time. There was a lot of good things about that, or it wouldn't have lasted. But with my guitar player who's been super supportive, my producer. So I've had wonderful men in my life. And when you talk to really successful women like Dolly Parton, she talks about men and how, I've had good men. She's not, they did this to me or they did that to me. And I'm sure she's dealt with, things all the time. You just have to kind of know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to fight it, know when to just, walk away. And we have to navigate all of that. But women are just fantastic creatures, and we need to hold each other up and help each other instead of, being so petty and, jealous and envious, So just you have to, even though it's painful. I mean, I had an older sister that talked for me all the time when I was a little girl and made all the decisions and choices. And I was totally happy with that because I wanted to be the follower. Getting older, I had a husband that took that role and I listened to him. But it's painful to do your own thing. It's almost like it feels so wrong. You're like, oh my God, this can't be right. This is totally wrong. I'm way too far out here. But it's painful. It's been physically painful for me to put myself out there. But it is important that if you have a gift that you put it out there for people to listen to and to develop. It's very important that you do your art, and women are told that, you have kids or but you can, I think it's changing. I think it's just slow,
Yeah. And I think as we get past our age group going down, it's starting to change more. I think because there are those even in my age range, and I'm a little bit younger than you, not much. I've noticed some of the guys I went to school with, they were fine being stay-at-home dads, and while their wives had careers, so I think it's just everything's starting to change more. And that it takes time. And you'll still always have those good old boys areas and things like that. But I think when you have other guys speaking out for women too, it makes a huge difference. So just that,
I've seen, I have relationship goals, going back to Loretta Lynn. I mean, I know it was well publicized, her marriage and his drinking problems and, things, but he was supportive of her and really put her out there, drove her to the radio stations, and that was also what I really loved about Coal Miner's Daughter. I always dreamed of having a man like that. I had really hoped for that in my own marriage. And, and I even, Margot Price put out a book recently about her husband and their adventure and journey into stardom in Nashville and how they started out. And it was the same kind of thing. They were just this team, even more so than, Loretta Lynn, because Margot Price's husband is on stage with her. And I saw her in concert. And I forgot she was great too. I saw her several years back and I saw her on stage and it was the coolest thing. I was watching her perform and they were doing, the whole band. And then the band left and her husband was in the band and he left and she came back on stage to do like an acoustics thing by herself. And I watched him from the side of the stage taking pictures of her. And I was just so touched by it. I took a picture of him taking a picture of her. I was like, that's just the kind of thing that, and she talks about how much, they've done it together. And so a supportive man is really, it's not all just girl power, I mean, we have to there's really, really, really good, men out there, we just have to, we can't be, badasses all the time. There's your, hi doggy.
Yeah, my dog was scratching. She's like, hey mom, are you done yet? Almost, baby, almost.
So that's what I would say. I'd say be yourself and, be yourself. I think it's Tom Petty that said, it's not up to you to judge your own art. It's up to other people. So,
Mhm.
put yourself out there, even though it's painful. You're never going to get anywhere, if you just, sit home. You got to find a listening room. You've got to, I'm a testament to a truly shy, introverted person who finally got it together enough and got brave enough, to do it. And I'm proud of what I put out. And I think the next album will be really good, really, really. I mean, I know Saw Miller's Daughter was great, but I know that I have edgier, catchier lyrics and more, I think took, more risks,
Oh yeah.
um, I don't know. There's going to be like a lot of love songs on it or heartbroken love or whatever. It's just, it's more like a narrative about, truck drivers and golden girls and, queens. And, it changed as my life changed. And I went through, different experiences. So, I'm always, trying for the car wheels on a gravel road or the, Kim Ritchie Bittersweet or the Linda Ronstadt Heart Like a Wheel. Those are songwriter albums. And I'm just proud. Like I had a song nominated and it came in third in a songwriting contest at the Will McLean Festival. And I was so proud. I know there was hundreds of entries. I don't know everyone that entered, but the 12, they showed the list of 12 and I was the only female on there that was in the top 12 and I was in the top 3. So I was really proud. And I know there's women out there, writing songs. But I do think it's just, it's still not the norm. It's still not,
Right.
even though there's things that are changing. I like what's happening in Nashville, Brandi Carlile and the Warren Treaty and, the other Brandy, I can't remember her name.
Clark.
Brandy Clark. No, there's another. Gosh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. There's just a lot
It's
of
all
good
good.
things happening in Nashville. A lot of diversity and a lot of good things happening, and a lot of femininity, but strong femininity. So,
Absolutely.
but thank you for what you do. We appreciate you too, showcasing us. I can't wait to hear it and then be critical of how I looked or what I said.
No, that's not what it's about. It's not what it's about at all.
No, and I'm just as bad as I'm going to be honest about that. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm perfectly comfortable with myself because I'm like every other woman. I'm totally not, so you got to be honest about that. But I'm looking forward to seeing this.
We will have it out soon, I promise. So it's been a pleasure talking with you, Sarah, and you are welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Donna. I appreciate you.
Wait, Jessie says bye.
Bye, Jessie.
Oh,
kind of a
my
dog
little baby girl she's a Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Yep, she's a Chihuahua.
I would love a little dog, but I can't leave my son in the house alone to go walk the dog or do anything like that. So maybe one day when we have a big backyard, we'll have a dog. He's allergic to cats. That's the thing that I'm working with. We'll get a rat or something in here. We'll get no snakes. No snakes. No snakes.
Oh, all right.
We'll leave the anacondas in the Everglades.
Definitely. Thank you, friends, for joining us for another episode. And make sure you check out the links below and follow Sarah's socials so you can know next release album and her touring schedule. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Donna. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode of Crazy Women Country, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Be sure to click the subscribe button for new interviews weekly. And thank you, friends, for joining us today on Crazy Women Country, where women's voices matter.